How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether price is going up or down. Sam Bankman-Fried will testify at his criminal trial. The revelation comes as federal prosecutors are expected to wind down the case. They've signaled their final witnesses that will be called on the stand Thursday. After that, Bankman-Fried's defense attorneys will have the opportunity to present their telling of the cases of FTX's collapse. Bankman-Fried will testify after the defense presents 3 witnesses, Bankman-Fried's lead lawyer Mark Cohen said to the court. While Bankman-Fried's testimony has the potential to convince the jury that he is not guilty, it also opens him up for some pitfalls. Federal prosecutors will have an opportunity to submit evidence that will discredit him that they otherwise would not have been allowed to submit. During cross-examination, there's potential for prolonged scrutiny as they could keep him on the stand for hours. There's really not too much more here. FTX selling the pump. Estate moves 8.6 mil Ethereum, Chainlink, Aave, and Maker to Binance. Collapsed crypto exchange FTX is sending funds to Binance in what analysts say is the beginning of a sale to repay creditors. Crypto analytics company Nasdaq highlighted the Twitter movement of 8.6 million in Ethereum, Chainlink, Aave, Maker from FTX and Alameda Research wallets. The transfer to Binance is either a sell or to prepare to sell these funds, Nansen said, as this is a large amount and people are looking for their money so they can start repaying their customers as well. Polygon deploys new POL token contracts on Ethereum. As the multi-chain scaling solution continues to roll out its updated roadmap, Polygon today finally deployed the token contracts for a new POL token on Ethereum. POL will replace the network's current MATIC token. The network will not support 2 tokens. MATIC holders will have 4 years to migrate their holdings to the new token. I would do so immediately, that way you don't forget and then all of a sudden you lose all your holdings because you didn't convert. The POL token was first announced back in July and is expected to play a critical role in the network's wider upgrade. Polygon has become a sprawling series of different tech solutions, including application-specific blockchains and ZK Ethereum Machine Networks, or ZK EVMs. To help secure all these networks, the POL token will reportedly let users stake their holdings across as many compatible blockchains as they want, and you can receive your rewards from each chain as well. So you don't have to have all your tokens locked up on one chain. That's a very good move. Over on our Dixie, we're really not moving. We did go kind of flat today. Overall, not very much movement. Our RSI is heading up. That stochastic wants to continue forward. Our money flow is still coming out. That momentum is still falling. That VWAP is still in the bullish territory. It's zigzagging around still, which is helping that money flow maintain its strength. But if we see this money flow continue to drop out and that VWAP start to roll away and not make any new highs, if it starts to make lower lows, we could see a pullback away from here. Remember, we do have a bit of a descending triangle that could end up forming. We are kind of pumping away from that possibility. But if you count the wicks, then this would be like a test right to that support zone. So that could end up dropping us down, not too far. If my arrow would grab the right spot on the chart, that would just drop us down to around that 104 level. Over on our total, we are in our golden pocket still. We're getting stopped by this larger EMA. That's our highest time frame EMA on our market cipher. If we are not able to break away from the zone, it is possible that we would round away. But with the way it's looking, we could also go flat, make a bull flag, and continue to pump forward. We did break well above where the symmetrical triangle was, so we will not see any continual play out from that pattern. we would have to reevaluate and see if there's a larger pattern here. So we'd have to zoom out here. You may be able to draw a different triangle. Wouldn't really have much supports though. So I would not call that a strong pattern unless we pulled it all the way back to here. And we have a few, but I don't really care for the strength of that. So zooming way back in. We are overall seeing stochastic ride the overbought area. The RSI is pretty flat here. They really can't go much higher. The momentum's pretty maxed out. Our VWAP is heading down, so I would keep an eye on that momentum. If that VWAP breaks to the bearish side, it's very likely the momentum will start to roll away. If it prolongs itself and starts to favor the bearish side, then that's where we would see a pretty significant drop down. Our money flow is pretty flat, but again, I would just keep an eye. We're struggling to get above this like 7-8 zone. If we're not able to sustain new highs and sustain this zone, it's very likely we will just curl away. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we're at about 54%, so nothing too exciting. Again, we had more momentum to pull us around that 56%, so we're kind of hanging up here, meeting some resistance. We could meet some more resistance just above us, but if we're able to continue breaking through these zones, we could set new supports. We're getting continued green candles, so we are seeing price action for our dominance or dominance percentage increase better. Our RSI is heading up. It is overall looking a little iffy, as we do look like we want to set up to round away, so I would keep a close eye on this. Our momentum is pushing forward, but our VWAP is starting to roll away after just peeking into the bullish territory. We have a lower high, so if we come down and make a lower low, it's very likely we could break to the bearish side. Over on Bitcoin futures, we're still within our little gapped area. We still have those 3 lower gaps as well as our higher gap above us. Our stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is starting to round away. Momentum is starting to round away. That VWAP is starting to round. It wants to cross to the bearish side. So if that VWAP breaks to the bearish side, that momentum is going to weaken here, as it is starting to show signs of weakening. RSI and stochastic show signs that they want to weaken. So if the VWAP breaks to the bearish side, medium term will have more selling pressure, and that could set our long-term money flow up for some selling pressure for it to curl away here. Over on Bitcoin, we do have potential to come up and hit the top of this pattern. If we zoom out a little bit for this channel, we do have a touch back here where we started this channel. If you want a little bit more, there's the complete breakdown. That's the peak. We dropped down to here. We came back up to here, dropped out, tried to come up, didn't get quite a push. We got in head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder. That was a slanted head and shoulder. That did break us down. We did not manage to get the full channel breakdown. So now we do have potential to come up, make another touch to the top of our resistance for this channel, which then we could see bring us back down, which we would try to retest our golden pocket for. Our stochastic is pretty overbought. RSI is pretty maxed out. That momentum is just running wild. Our VWAP is maintaining bullish momentum, favoring that bullish side, while our money flow is bullish. That is helping propel us forward. If we look at the 4 hour, you can see this trend a little bit better. This is probably the cleanest time frame, and since it's on a bigger time frame, it does have higher chances of playing out. This flag does measure from right around here, so you could get a little higher if you wanted to take these channels as part of that run up, but I try to take a little shorter of a run up because again, you don't want to take the full move because you're not always going to get the full move. Our momentum's overall coming out, RSI is heading down, we have a red dot on that RSI, so the RSI wants to weaken. Our stochastic's coming down, our money flow is showing signs that could start to round away. If our money flow breaks this 26 zone, we could set up a bearish trend. That VWAP is rejecting that neutral, setting up some bearish pressure. If that continues, then this flag could be in jeopardy and we could just see a rollover. Over on the 2 hour, RSI is overall heading out, our momentum's overall heading down, so we have bearish divergence on momentum, we have bearish divergence on stochastic, our stochastic is starting to fall away, RSI is starting to fall away, we have a red dot on our RSI that is playing out to bring it down. That momentum has a red dot starting to bring us down as our VWAP is curling into that bearish territory. If that VWAP continues in this bearish territory, and starts to favor it like it did back here, we could see a pretty decent move to the downside and a bearish trend start to resume. Over on the 1 hour, our momentum's getting lower highs, so we have bearish divergence there, stochastic setting up bearish divergence, RSI is coming down, that stochastic is coming down. The money flow is doing pretty decent, but I would watch if it breaks away from this 18.8 zone. If it breaks below this zone, we could see continual price action to the downside. Our VWAP is starting to favor the bearish territory, so that could set us up for a pull to the bearish side, so I would keep an eye on that. We are around this Fibonacci, or bottom of this gap zone. If we do not make a bounce off the bottom of this gap zone, we could fall, try to test this flag, at which point we could try to drop out for some sort of a double top. That would be a run up here and then a run up here. So this could just be one big move up instead of that being a double top. Because we tried to make a double top, then we got some manipulation, and now we're trying to come back down. So I would keep an eye on that. Over on graph for the daily, we are trying to hit this pink EMA and this purple EMA. We are trying to break away from our pattern. So we could call it invalidated, or you could say it could be moved. If I can get it to move properly, as we have some candle wicks here, some here, but I really wouldn't like that move, so I'm just going to get rid of this. We are going to probably be leaving these support resistances. We may revisit that purple one that we had. If you want to leave that purple one, you can. On our daily, we are trying to round up overall. This could be a cup. We could come up, try to make a handle. If that does happen, we would get a decent move to around this, possibly the black EMA, maybe a little past it, to the top end of this previous zone, but then I would watch for some bearish momentum. We did get a rather big push today, especially since the rest of the market was flat, so it is possible that this push could get corrected. So if you rode this push, I would suggest taking some profit. Not financial advice, but this run up isn't guaranteed to last forever. Our RSI is heading up, our stochastic's pretty bullish, our momentum is pushing forward. That stochastic could start to round though, so I would keep an eye on it. That VWAP is starting to come down, it is in the bullish territory. The money flow is in the bullish territory. We are bouncing off that bearish territory. We did peek into the bearish territory twice, and we have overall maintained higher highs. That has helped us try to sustain our price. But because we keep dipping in the bearish territory, we keep getting little corrective actions. So I would watch if these lower time frames we keep losing some strength. If this VWAP doesn't start favoring the bullish territory more, like back here and back here, then it is very possible we could start a push to the downside. That was a pretty volatile candle we had. Our RSI is starting to head down. Our momentum has slight bearish divergence here. Stochastic has bearish divergence. Our money flow is trying to head back down as well, so I would keep an eye on that money flow. If the money flow and VWAP continue to head down and the VWAP starts to favor the bearish territory with lower lows and lower highs, we're likely going to start to see a trend to the downside. Over on the 2 hour, you can see even more that was just a big God candle that pumped us up. We had somewhat of a flag you could have drawn that would have been like the whole move and then some in one move. Our momentum overall has bearish divergence. RSI is pushing out. As stochastic has bearish divergence, our money flow is rounding away. Our VWAP is starting to head back down toward that neutral. So if that VWAP breaks this neutral and heads to the bearish side, that momentum is going to weaken and our money flow will continue to taper away. Over on the 1 hour, we have technically a bear flag forming here, as we are chopping sideways below where this candle to the downside was. So since we got pushed to the downside and we're going sideways, that's to me a bear flag. When you get a drop and chop, that's a bear flag. When you get a pump and chop, that's a bull flag. Momentum's coming out, our stochastic's coming out, RSI is starting to weaken, money flow's overall weakening. That VWAP did get a nice big pump, but now it's struggling to get back over that neutral. So if the VWAP makes a lower high here and sets up for lower lows or consistent lows in this bearish territory, we could start zigzagging around the bearish territory and see our money flow start to pull to the bearish side. Over on Anchor for the daily, we do have that potential for a cup and handle here too, as we are getting that bit of a round. So we could come back down, bounce off this red EMA, and push forward. That would try to push us around that point value area low for our volume profile, like we mentioned previously. Now stochastic is rounding away, momentum is starting to round away. Our VWAP is setting slightly lower highs, so I would watch out for it to set lower lows. If the VWAP starts lower lows here, we would get a slight bearish trend that could start to drag us out, but it would also be a slight bearish trend, which will give you that handle. So I would watch for it to snap back. If it snaps back, we could get that push to the upside. However, if it doesn't, it's likely we'll get the push to the downside. Money flow is maintaining bullish momentum, but if that VWAP starts to struggle, that could be short-lived. Over on the 4 hour, we are in a bit of an up channel, pretty straight up channel too, so I would expect it to drop down. Again, that could just form that handle. Momentum's making bearish divergence, RSI is heading down. RSI has a red dot, our momentum has a red dot, and our VWAP is struggling. So I would keep an eye on the VWAP. It's getting lower highs. If it starts getting lower lows and heading into the bearish territory more than that bullish territory, it's likely that it will start to drag us under. Over on the 2 hour, momentum's making bearish divergence, stochastic's making bearish divergence, the RSI is going kind of flat, so it doesn't know what it wants to do. But with the stochastic and everything else coming down, that could start to weaken. Our VWAP is starting to get lower highs. I would watch for it to get lower lows. It's currently getting higher lows, so it's kind of zigzagging around. But again, we have that up channel that could end up breaking us down. But with the VWAP getting so tight, it could break us down. Then the VWAP could snap back bullish and pump us up for that cup and handle. Over on the 1 hour, we do have some sideways chop here, so that could try to push us forward. Our momentum's overall heading out, stochastic's overall heading down. We do have bearish divergence on those. RSI is heading out. Our money flow is ranging around this 34 zone. If it starts to fall below, I would say this 17 zone, then we could start to see some bearish action of significance. Our VWAP is starting to favor the bearish side, so I would keep an eye on that. If it continues to favor the bearish side, it's likely we could get a pullback from here. Over on XRP for the daily, we are getting a little bit of a bounce off that support area, which is also where we have our flag support. So it's a price point support and a pattern support. If we do not come back into it and we get a green bounce off of this, we could continue forward to that 71-cent zone that we mentioned. As stochastic is starting to make a bearish cross in the overbought area, so it's likely to come back down. RSI is starting to head down, momentum starting to round away as our VWAP is starting to make a bearish trend with lower highs and lower lows, and our money flow is struggling to break above this -4.5, -7 area. So if it's not able to break around this zone, it's very likely that we will just curl to the bearish side and see a drop. This could have just been one big freak pump as we got that hype of the ETF news, and it really hasn't gone anywhere, and they actually got delisted. So they were kind of like, got ya. Our momentum's overall pushing out, RSI is pushing away, our stochastic's overall pushing away. Our momentum and stochastic have bearish divergences here. Our momentum has a red dot as our VWAP is trying to reject that neutral. If our VWAP sets up lower lows, we could get a bearish trend to pull everything else down. That money flow is starting to round away, so that is in jeopardy of falling. Over on the 2 hour, this could be some sort of goofy shoulder, head, and then shoulder. It would be slanted. That could end up breaking us down and retesting this pattern. RSI is heading down. Our stochastic has a bearish cross, so that is bringing our RSI down. I would watch if it can bounce off 30 and maintain. Our momentum is starting to round away with the red dot as our VWAP has fallen into the bearish territory. Our money flow is maintaining some bullish strength. It's struggling around this 8-9 zone. So if our VWAP sets lower lows or lower highs, we could start a bearish trend as we did peak into the bearish territory. So if we get lower highs, reject, and then make lower lows, we could see a pull to the downside. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic is falling. It's starting to round though, so it could try to rebound. So I would look for a little bit of a slingshot move up. Our stochastic's pretty flat here as it does still have slight bullish momentum. And money flow is rounding away. Our momentum is starting to push down as our VWAP is starting to favor the bearish territory. If this VWAP is not able to make a new high and break that neutral, it's likely we could round away from here. Over on Algo for the daily, we are pushing our resistance of our flag. We tried to break out and we got stopped by that EMA. Don't know why this is so dark. Again, if you ever want to move something, you can bring something forward. I bring it little increments at a time sometimes because you don't want to bring it too far forward and then have something you want above it behind. It kind of messes up how things look. Our stochastic's starting to round away. RSI is starting to round away. Again, this is trading view in case you're wondering what we're using. Our VWAP is rounding away. Again, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join the Discord. Again, if you want that stat sheet that just finished, that's the only way to get one. Our VWAP is pushing forward. It's about to start to taper off. Our money flow is in the bullish territory, so we do look positive. But with us getting this indecision candle, if we get a red candle following it, it's very possible we will break our point of control and test back to our value area low. Over on the 4 hour, we are starting to get a bit of a rejection from a green dot as we have a rising channel. Rising channels are bearish patterns that want to break you down. That could end up making a handle as we have a cup here. This could be a cup, a handle. That could push us away from the zone if I can get my finger to scroll, and it would try to push us since that cup's pretty deep here. If you counted this zone That would push you around that 11.2 cent zone possibly, right between both these previous trends. If we're able to reject that, we would see a pretty decent snap down. However, if we sustain that and move forward, then we could try to trend higher and try to trend to that value area high, which that would actually be where that cup and handle would possibly take you, because that wouldn't be very much difference between this zone and our value area high. So I would keep that in mind. Let's zoom in back in so we can see everything. Our momentum's overall pushing out with bearish divergence. RSI is weakening as stochastics got bearish divergence and pushing down. Our money flow is in the bullish territory, but the VWAP starting to favor the bearish territory. If that VWAP continues to favor the bearish territory, it's likely we will start to roll away. Over on the 2 hour, we are starting to round away. Our EMAs are starting to bend, so that could be a sign that we could start to fall back to our bigger EMAs and see them all get really tight and attempt to break back into a bearish trend. Our momentum is getting bearish divergence. Stochastics getting bearish divergence. Our momentum is rounding away. That VWAP is favoring the bearish side. We're getting consistent lows. We are hitting the bearish territory more often than bullish right now, so that could try to pull us under. We do have the possibility of this to be a bit of a rising wedge, which rising wedges are bearish patterns, so that could break us down again. But that would also make our handle possibility, as if we rebounded off of these EMAs after that, we could trend forward to those higher price points. Over on the 1 hour, we are touching this resistance. We are testing it. We have many candles kind of wicking through it, so it is getting weaker. So I would just watch out for that breakdown. If it gains some steam past these EMAs, I would say past this 9.5. If we gain more momentum past that, then we could see continual price action to the downside rather than that bullish case. Momentum's got bearish divergence. Stochastics got bearish divergence. RSI is heading out. That VWAP is starting to favor the bearish territory, and the momentum is in the bearish territory, so overall we're not that strong here. Over on Doge for the daily, we are pushing up right around where we mentioned that we could try to push through. We are getting some resistance here. Stochastics starting to fall away. RSI is trying to push forward. That momentum's coming up, but starting to round away, and the VWAP starting to round away as well. So even though we got this push, it does look like we could meet resistance. Again, we have rejected this area in a few times in recent history. If we look at the 4 hour, our momentum's overall getting weaker. We are setting lower highs on that momentum. We have our RSI starting to fall. Stochastic wants to push up. That VWAP is struggling. If the VWAP starts to fall and breaks to the bearish side, we could start to favor the bearish territory here, which would pull us under. Now, I could also set up some sort of double top here. Over on the 2 hour, Stochastic is trying to run up. Our momentum's trying to push forward. That VWAP is trying to push. It's right around this 18 we keep getting rejected from. So if that VWAP continues down from here, breaks into the bearish territory and can't regain bullish momentum, we could see a snap to the bearish side. Money flow is starting to leave us, so I would watch out for that as well. Over on the 1 hour, Stochastic starting to get lower highs, so I would watch for that. RSI is starting to taper off. We do have a red dot. Our momentum is starting to round away as our VWAP is starting to head down. Our VWAP is getting lower highs and wants to break through the neutral. So if it starts to favor that bearish territory, we could see a push to the downside. Money flow is starting to push down. If it breaks this 13 zone, we could break to the bearish side and see a pretty decent move to the downside, as we got pretty decent moves up. and we still have gaps to the downside. Speaking of coins that made pretty decent moves, SHIB did pretty good today. But again, when you get those big volatile moves, usually they're corrective. Stochastic is starting to roll away, it's starting to flatten out, so I would just watch it. RSI is heading up, the momentum is in the bullish territory, our VWAP does want to round away, and our money flow wants to break bullish. So if this VWAP continues to weaken here, that money flow may reject, it may not get bullish momentum, and we would not get a double bottom to push us any further up. That would be a bottom where we go down, and back up. That would try to push us back to around this 13,709. But if we are not able to cross through here, then that possibility could get invalidated. Over on the 4 hour, momentum's overall getting lower highs, stochastic's getting lower highs, and our RSI has a red dot that wants to bring it down, so I would watch as we have bearish divergence with bearish signals. That VWAP is starting to favor the bearish territory, and it just can't get above this 12.6 zone. If it starts to reject this area and starts to break into the bearish territory, that money flow is likely going to weaken, roll over, and start to break bearish. If that happens, we will see a pull to the downside. Over on the 2 hours, stochastic's starting to round away, momentum is starting to push away as well. That money flow is starting to struggle at that 27. If it's not able to sustain bullish momentum with that VWAP falling, then we could see a pull to the downside, retest these lower zones, and try to break lower. That VWAP is testing neutral, so I would keep an eye on it. It did make a higher high, so if it can make a higher low, we would have a bullish trend to try to push us forward, but that would depend on the rest of the market. Stochastic on the 1 hour is getting lower highs and starting to round away. Our momentum is showing signs of pushing down. Our VWAP is struggling. Our money flow is struggling to get some sustained bullish momentum past like this 27, but it is maintaining bullish momentum. So if the money flow starts to round away and breaks below this 14.4 zone, we could see a bearish pull, especially since that VWAP starting to waver. If the VWAP starts to favor the bearish territory, it's very likely it will start to drag everything else down with it. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night. Again, smash that like, leave a comment, and subscribe.